You're watching the Press Row. I'm Jenny here with Barry. We're talking college basketball, and we better talk some Sooners too, Barry, because obviously riding high as February began, but now we've seen the Sooners stumble a bit. We're talking on Wednesday, a couple hours before the Sooners tip off in Lubbock against the Red Raiders, a sort of a resurgent Texas Tech team. We've seen them improve this year, but lost 2 out of 3 heading into this game. What's your level of concern right now about the Sooners?
Well, I mean, they're definitely slumping. They're definitely not playing as well as they did. On the other hand, they're number 2 in the RPI.
Yeah.
They're number 3 in the AP poll. Yeah, I did the NCAA mock selections last week. We had Oklahoma the overall number 1. If we did it tomorrow, we'd have, or today, we'd have the Sooners probably overall number 2 or 3.
Right.
So they haven't fallen far. They're still in great shape, but they do need to start playing better, and they do need to go to a place like Lubbock and win. Texas Tech is the number 7 team in the Big 12. You need to go there and win. Already lost in Manhattan, almost lost in Stillwater. It's time to play a good, solid road game and take a victory that seems a little bit perilous.
Yeah, and you know, I was there, as were you, on Saturday when Kansas came to town and Oklahoma State lost again to the Jayhawks, this time a 4-point loss there in Norman. And just it seemed to me the biggest issue I see are the slow starts that they've sort of fallen into now. It's become something of a trend, and you can obviously break a trend with a game or two where you get out and get going early, but that was really a problem because they were getting some fairly decent shots. Maybe not everyone was great, but early on they were getting shots that they've hit in the past and not hitting them. And to get behind the 8 ball, a really, really good Kansas team probably would have buried them early, but Kansas doesn't have one of the great Kansas teams that Bill Self has had, so they were able to stay in it, were the Sooners. But, you know, obviously those slow starts, you can't continue to have those, and you can't have those on the road, Barry. I mean, Texas Tech is capable enough that if they do that again, it could be a case where the home crowd starts getting going, and then, you know, who knows if they can come back. But, you know, I agree with you. I think their overall resume is still really good, but you don't want to sort of stumble into the postseason. I mean, I don't think college basketball it's not quite the same animal as you're talking about NBA. I mean, we've seen NBA teams kind of turn on the light switch come playoff time and go play. I just think it's a lot harder at the college level. They want to get some positive momentum. I'm not saying go win the Big 12 tournament, but keep some positive momentum. And right now, the momentum's not going in the right direction for this team.
No, and, you know, they're in a shooting slump. That's mainly what it is. Jordan Woodard not hitting at all. Isaiah Cousins went through it earlier in the year. He snapped out of it. If Woodard snaps out of it, Sooners are back really rolling. So I think they just have to play their way out of it. I still think they're an accomplished team. I still think they're an elite team. I still think they'll be one of the favorites going into the NCAA tournament.
We'll be here for their first couple of rounds games, yeah.
But you're right. You don't want to go into the NCAA on a down note. You don't want to go in having lost 6 or 7 times when you know you're capable of a much better record. So still plenty of time to get the ship righted.
And I still think there's still a chance to at least share the Big 12 title. I mean, it became more difficult after that loss to Kansas because Kansas really has its toughest games already behind it, has played West Virginia twice, has played Oklahoma twice. Oklahoma's got that weekend game this weekend in Morgantown against West Virginia, a team that it was a great game against them in Norman, won on a last-second tip-in by Kadeem Latin. So the challenge will be great in Morgantown for the Sooners. That's a game that could really go either way. But if they get back on the winning track Wednesday night in Lubbock, and then obviously if they win at Morgantown, suddenly their chances to at least tie improve because we saw West Virginia lose already. Kansas, I think, still has a loss somewhere out there. I could see them losing again. I just don't think they're one of those great Kansas teams. So the chance is still there for the Sooners, but they got to win ball games, and that starts Wednesday night in Lubbock. That's an 8 o'clock tip. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.